Yes, okay.
Sure, sir.
Yes. Some of y'all sudah lama kita. Some of majority of y'all my students. So okay, okay, jom. Okay, integrating research framework with the measurement instrument. Okay, most important part research is actually our framework. Okay, especially we are doing quantitative study. So the most important tool that we need in order for us to proceed with our research is our framework. Okay, why I'm starting with the framework? Okay, in my coaching students for past 2 3 years, what I see is the major problem in questionnaire development or questionnaire designing. So what I see is that when you are doing this process, okay, this process, things that you don't look into is you don't know when you come out with your framework, right? Usually majority of y'all will start developing a framework based on literature review. Am I right? Betul kan?
Betul, betul. Correct.
We will go and look for articles, and then we will do all that magic work lah, yeah. We pick variables from here, we pick variables from there, and then we just play out, come out, and then we see which frequency of usage is very high and things like that. And then we come out with a rough framework, and then when it makes sense to us, there is a rationale towards it and things like that. Then okay, we can settle down with our framework. Okay, but least do I mean the least importance that we give for the framework is that you never look into the theory. So we are very happy because our framework is ready, and then you go and present to your supervisor. So if your supervisor gives you a green light, you're happy about it. The second challenge comes is that when you need to crack your head, what theory to be used. So that's why majority of y'all who join my research theoretical framework development class, I will always tell y'all, if you are new, that means you're just starting your research, always start with the theory if you're quantitative. Yeah? I'm actually a quanti expert. I'm not an expert in quali or experimental. But for questionnaire designing, if you are from quasi or experimental or whatever, but if you think that you are doing questionnaire, then I mean you still can follow the class. Okay. Okay. So for quantitative, if you are coming out with a framework, right? So the most important thing in my class I teach is that literature review is important, but the most important is theory. So work with the theory. Testing theory, so work with the theory. So that's why if a student comes to me, the first thing I will tell my student is that what is your area of interest or your area of focus? What are you focusing in your research? Right? Everybody definitely we are passionate about certain topics or certain area, right? Once you have that area, go and work on your theory. Go and read articles in your theory which is being used a lot. Then from theory first. One, okay, I'm going to use a resource-based theory, or I'm going to use a UTAB theory or TBT theory. From there, you know what kind of variables that you need to incorporate into your framework. Like my old student, as you all will know, right? Theory got two. Betul kan? Ada berapa jenis teori? Siapa boleh jawab? Siapa boleh jawab? How many types of theory usually I will divide in when we are doing framework? Two. One
Three, two,
theory with
three or
Variable
two.
and without variable.
yes, good. Okay. So one is theory with variable. That means certain theories they come with variables. So we don't have to crack our head so much. The variables are there. But the difficult part is now is that how do we explain the variables which come with the theory into our context of study? And that's the part. That one you need to be careful. Okay, that means you are taking this theory example TPV or UTAP. They come with the variables. So now how do I conceptualize that variables into our concept of study? That means we definitely get, okay, maybe the paper that you are referring, they actually incorporate that a different context of study, but our context of study will be different. So that's the part. Okay, another set of theory is theory explains about relationship between variables. So they don't have any particular, but they explain what kind of relationship must be there between variables. Okay, example, you can see here, this is social exchange theory. So social exchange theory is a very old theory. It is actually explaining about reciprocity. That means when you give something in return, you'll get back something. You do good, you get good. You do bad, you get bad. So when employees are given certain facilities by the company, then the employees in return give better productivity or performance or engagement back to the company. So that is the meaning. So now, like for in my thesis, I use social exchange theory. So once I decided, because I was doing an employee TV, once I decided that this is the best theory that explains my focus area, then I started to read about social exchange theory. So when I was reading exchange theory, then I understand the meaning of the relationship reciprocity. After that, when I went and, now I need to identify my variables, right? So when I was identifying my variable, when I read through my literature, so every time I get a variable, okay, this variable is good, then I will ask, okay, between PAF and EE, is there a reciprocity or not, right? So even when I read papers, right, there will be a lot of recommendation in the papers. So I take the variables, I ask myself, can I establish a reciprocity relationship between this variable and that means usually between the exogenous variable and the endogenous variable. If I can explain, then I keep that variables. If not, I'll drop. So from the beginning, I made sure, first I selected my theory. Second, when I was selecting my variables, I make sure I only select variables which I can explain by the theory that I have selected. So by the time I completed my framework, I didn't have much issue because my variables were supported by the theory. So I did 2 in 1. So, but right now, some students who come to me, the problem that I see in their framework is that finding a theory. Why? Because you never focused on the theory. You straight away jumped into number 2, literature review. And then you picked up articles from the literature review. Even though you actually referred to good journals, Q1 journals, Q2 journals, that's not the problem now. Because when you take variables from different disciplines, different papers, now, how am I going to find one theory which fits in everything? Right, sorry, having a bad flu and cough. Okay, so that's the most important thing. So work with the theory if you are new. Okay, but if you are halfway through, we can't do much, especially when you have done your PD and everything. The framework is already ready, then we can't do much. We have to make do with what we have, right? No issue on that. Okay, so this is theory from theory literature review. So now example, this is my framework. Okay, this is a simple framework. I have 3 IVs here, one DB, one mediator, and one moderator with all the hypotheses and everything. Okay, so this is fine. I'm not going so much into the framework. I just want to show you how your framework has to be aligned to your questionnaire. Because in many issues, the main problem, you have a framework, you have a questionnaire, but we don't see the alignment. So that means your framework wants to measure something, but your questionnaire is measuring something else, even though the name of the variables are the same. Okay. So when you want to do your framework, even in this first stage, when you're developing your framework, you have to start looking into all these things. Okay, you have to start looking into all these things. How many of you are looking into all this in your first stage itself? How many of you all start looking into this 1, 2, 3, 4 when you are in the beginning stage of coming out with the framework? Again,
Tak ada. Jujurnya tak ada.
jujurnya memang tak ada. Okay? Right? You will wait until chapter 3, you'll wait until writing a chapter 3, and then when you are coming out with your questionnaire, that's where the problem starts. If you are lucky, then God bless you. But sometimes when we are not lucky, that's when the issue starts. Okay. Okay. So what are the things that you have to look into is your variables. What kind of variables we have? Okay. Okay. Second, when I say variables, we have the unit of analysis. You will hear unit of analysis in which chapter? Bab mana?
Chapter 3.
3. So until chapter 3, you don't have this unit of analysis. Okay. So unit of analysis, dia ada dua. We have two types of unit of analysis. Yeah. What are the unit of analysis? Either individual or firm level.
Organization.
Yeah. We have two, either individual or firm level. Okay. So what is individual or firm level? Okay. Now, when you have a variable, you want to measure the perception of the individual respondent, or you want to measure the perception of the company towards that variable. Which one you want to do? It's two different things, right?
Yes, correct.
Individual's perception is different. It's my perception. I being an individual, it's my perception. But the company's perception will be overall.
Yes.
So can I have variables in my framework which are mixed? That means my IV is individual and my DV is okay, example, performance appraisal fairness. So I want to see whether I am being rated fairly by my manager. So that's individual or firm level. Individual, right?
Individual. Individual.
Right? So, and then training, whether I'm given enough training or not, individual. Mentoring, whether my manager mentors me or not, individual. Employee engagement, am I happy with this job, is individual. Okay? But how about, this is employee performance, right? Whether I'm doing work on time, my quality is good, you know, all those is individual. Can I change this to organizational performance? Can I change this to organizational performance? OP. I change from EP to OP. Can I do that?
No,
Why?
Can.
Can or cannot?
it's firm level.
Okay, see properly. Who will answer these questions?
Individual.
Individual training, individual MT, individual EE, and the individual. Can one respondent from a company, one employee from a company, answer organizational performance of the company?
No.
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 So that means what? Organizational performance is firm level. So all these will be individual, but when we come to here, is going into firm level. So how is it? We only have one set of responsibility, right? So this individual, this person who is answering the organizational performance, this person has to be the representative of the firm, finance manager or the CEO of the company or the owner of the company. So there'll be one person from the company, but he's not going to be individual. He's going to represent the company, so firm level. So can I have mixed variables in my framework? That means some variables, unit of analysis is individual and some are firm level. Can I have a mix?
No.
No. So this is what I'm telling you all. Start going and looking into your framework, because many of y'all are doing this mistake because we are not aware of this until we come to chapter 3. Okay, and say some theories are actually based on firm level theory. So can I, okay, let's say now, my original, okay. The original is EP. EP means employee performance, is individual. So all the variables here now are individual. So now, okay, right?
No, okay.
Yeah. So because when I'm going to distribute my questionnaire, for one questionnaire, there will be only one respondent. I cannot use different respondents for one answering one questionnaire, right? So all this questionnaire, that means all these items in this framework will be answered by each person from the company. That's how we work, okay? Okay. But again, we also have certain theories. Okay, like example for this. Okay, this one. Okay, this is resource-based view theory. Okay, for those using RBV, resource-based theory of the firm and innovation. Okay, these are their variables. Based on the firm, these are the variables. Can these questions be answered by individual employees? Any employees in a company?
Yes.
See properly?
Specifics.
Specific.
Only specifics.
Department.
Yes.
Maybe CEO or HRD or something.
Someone who represents that particular department in that company, right? Betul?
Yes.
Yes,
So
yes, yes.
yes, so it's individual or firm level?
Firm level.
Firm level. So whatever answer they are giving is on behalf of the company. Example, what kind of engineering equipment that you all have in your company, or example like that. Okay, engineering equipment are using the highest technology in the company, so it's not their personal equipment, it's actually the company, so it's representing the firm level. So in this type of, if you're using RBV, right, can you go and bring an individual type of variable and put here? Can or not? Cannot. Okay? So that's why you must know what theory that you are using and what is your unit of analysis from the very beginning. I don't want you all to go to chapter 3 when you're coming to conceptualizing your instrument. Then only you start thinking, and you, that means you're going to have a lot of problem later part. Okay, so like this. Oh, sorry, it's a repetition. Okay, clear now? Clear? So
Clear.
please look into
Clear,
your,
Doctor. Clear. Thank you.
please make sure the variables.
Doctor,
Yes.
can you mix English and Malay?
Boleh.
Thank you.
Okay. So if you have a framework, kalau kita ada framework ya, so pastikan semua variable tu unit of analysis dia mesti sama, because kita kena gunakan satu set respondent sahaja. We'll be only using one set of respondent. That means if managers are all will be managers at firm level. If employees, like example, all will be executives. Okay, we don't use like for this variable different set of respondent, untuk ini pula different set of respondent. No, we don't do that. We cannot do that. Okay, so make sure revisit back your framework, check the unit of analysis, and the unit of analysis doesn't start in chapter 3. It actually starts from the time you are trying to do your framework. Okay, that's one thing. And second, also check your theory. Is your theory firm level theory or individual level theory? You have to also check on that. Make sure that it's your unit of analysis. So you can't use resource-based theory, but your unit of analysis you say is individual. It's going to be a major correction later. Okay. Third, very important is that the definition of your variables are very, very crucial. For instrument development, number 3. Sorry. Okay, for instrument development, 3 dengan nombor 4 berkait rapat is very much linked. Why? We don't want you to define the definition for the instrument. The definition for this is different, but your instrument is measuring something else, right? So that's why you must be very clear with the definition. Okay, for those who have joined my classes, I will usually teach you this. First of all, do mapping. Every time you have done your framework, then we start with our mapping work. So every variable, you need to have a few definitions. So based on the definition, we will also do mapping for instrument. From the beginning itself, we don't wait until chapter 3, because it can be quite late by the time you come to chapter 3 to find out that there are no instrument to measure your definition or your variable. Yep, I still get students who come to chapter 3 when you are at the point of developing nak buat questionnaire. That's when they tell me, saya tak dapat cari apa-apa instrumen untuk measure variable, doktor nak buat macam mana. You are in a big trouble, right? So before, when you want to identify a variable, contohlah example, I want to do one of my variable is performance appraisal fairness. So when I put this variable, after I select this variable, first thing I have to go and check the definition. Second thing, I need to go into literature and check ada instrument atau tidak. You don't have to finalize yet, but at least check there are standard instruments that we can adapt later on. Itu yang saya nak tahu. Yeah, because if you can't find any instrument to measure that particular variable, nanti susah dalam bab 3 macam mana, how are we going to design our instrument? Boleh ke? If there's no instrument for measuring one of your variable, what will you do? What will you do?
Just ada topik.
Senang. Just
Redo.
redo. Susah tak nak redo?
Susah.
Bayangkan ya bab 2, chapter 2, nak rewrite balik for that whole variable. Right? Kenapa nak buat? Why do you want to put yourself in such situation? Jomlah belajar dari awal lagi. So dari awal lagi kita take all the necessary steps so that by the time we reach chapter 3, kita tak suffer. Okay? Okay. So ini faham ya? Okay. Apa tu psychometric? Psychometric adalah psychological trait. A trait which measures on personality, attitudes, ability. Metric pula adalah quantifiable measurement. So selalunya kalau personalities are very difficult to measure. But we want to make sure we want to measure it so that it makes it easier for quantifying it. So that's why psycho campur metric kita dapat psychometric. So psychometric is that we have psychometricians who have developed a lot of instruments. So if you want to develop an instrument, is it easy? Is it not?
No.
Why we never encourage you all to actually write items for your variable? Kenapa?
Banyak kena question nanti.
Kan kena question. Apa dia? Bukan setakat banyak kena question, ada lagi apa dia? Okay, ingat ya, psychometrician when they want to do they want to develop the skills, the scale development lain, questionnaire development lain. Questionnaire development we adapt and adopt. Scale development they start from scratch, they develop from scratch. So when they develop from scratch, they have to follow this. This is by Mackenzie Podeskopf, yeah. Mackenzie and Podeskopf very famous for scale development steps. Almost 10 steps. Are you going to do all these 10 steps when you develop an item for your items for individual variable?
Doktor tak nampak doktor, boleh besarkan tak?
Nampak tak? Nampak ke?
Okey sikit.
Okey, boleh lah.
Sekarang nampak? Tak boleh juga.
Nampak.
Okey.
Okay.
Jelas doktor, jelas.
Okay. So macam ini untuk satu variable, satu scale development. Bayangkan dalam framework kita, in our framework, kita ada 10 variable. You nak duduk buat macam ni untuk 10 ke? Nak?
Tak nak.
Tak habis, 20 tahun pun tak habis kot. Kan? And then you'll get satu anugerah pelajar tertua. Nak? Nak ke?
Tak nak.
Tak nak, ikut cakap ya. Jangan that's why we don't actually develop the skills. So where do we get our questionnaire then? How do we actually adapt the instruments? Yes. People who have already developed them for us, because the person who developed, they go through all this, right? And then they will publish in reliable journals, right? And that's where we will adapt and adopt, okay? So kita cut short lah sikit, tapi kita boleh tak tulis item sendiri? Because we cannot, nak buat boleh. Just developing a scale alone can become one thesis, yeah? So can become one PhD. So proses dia panjang, right? So that's why we don't you all to do that. What we do, we adapt and adopt, because we are going to test our framework. we are not into scale development. Our work here is to test our framework, to test our hypothesis. So don't halfway through deviate your research objective pula, eh? So when we do this, what we do, we adapt and adopt, okay? So in developing a questionnaire, in your whole research, kita ada three stage approach lah, ya. Step pertama, testing. Step kedua, measurement. Step ketiga, evaluation. Okay, so what is testing? Okay, testing means what? What do you want to test? When you want to test, okay, example, if you want to know kalau ada electric atau tidak, do you use a screwdriver? You know the test screwdriver?
Yes, test pen.
Test pen kan? So kalau ada demam, what tools that you use to see whether your temperature is high or not? Yes, we use a thermometer. So now I want to test my framework. I want to test my hypothesis. So I need a measuring tool. So tools used to measure data. So what is the function of my instrument is actually to measure my variables to see whether there is a relationship between hypotheses. Okay, so that's where. So your instrument or your questionnaire is your testing tool. Yeah, your instrument or your questionnaire is your testing tool. So this testing tool is very important. So when you have a testing tool, what is the function of a testing tool? It must test the right thing, right? Betul kan?
Correct.
Betul.
You have a tool lah, whether it's a screwdriver, whether it is a thermometer, right? Or it's or whether it's a cylinder, whatever tool that you are using, can you use it to measure something else? Can I use thermometer to test whether my food is acid or alkaline?
No.
No.
Cannot.
Cannot. So you must use what? You must use the right tool to test the right thing, right? So if your instrument, the instrument you develop, it must measure the relevant variable. If your instrument is not testing the relevant variable, something is seriously wrong. And this is where you will get a lot of major correction later. That means you have the instrument, sudah ambil item. You already adapt and adopt the items, but we don't see the items are actually reflecting on that variable. Items are measuring something else, but your variable is actually something else. So that's where you have to align your measurement. That means you need to align your instrument with the definition and the scope of your study. This is very important. Later, I'll go into it again.
Doctor, you have a question, Doctor?
Yes,
on the
yes.
chat?
Yeah. Doctor, when we are adopting, to what extent can we edit or modify it to accommodate our study? Okay, you can modify the construction of the sentence, but the meaning has to be remained. The meaning must be remained. So example, if they say that they are doing it in SME, but you want to convert that into MNC, fine. But the meaning of that particular thing cannot change. The core meaning tak boleh tukar. Okay, Vignesh?
And another one yang atas tu, Doktor.
Yang mana satu banyak ni?
Ada satu je lagi.
Yang
Abdullah Bani Hamdan.
how to link the staff KAP to be utilized in the intervention module in the electronic medical record study. Or any example. Okay, I think this is it related to instrument, Abdullah? Abdullah, are you here?
Maybe the last one for this session. Can change the scale from 0 to 4 to 0 to 5.
Can, Havinda, can. You can change the scale from 0 to 4 because scales need to be changed. Sometimes the original paper will give you 1 to 5, that's one. Secondly, they will also give like, you know, the 1 to 5 like strongly agree, strongly disagree. Sometimes that strongly agree, strongly disagree may not be appropriate to our context. Then that part we can change. We can also give a different meaning. Yeah. What if the instrument aligned to test the variable, but the definition conception is not aligned with the hypothesis? What is the instrument aligned to test the variable? But the definition, conceptual definition is not aligned with the hypothesis. You need to work on the definition. Okay? Your definition, your variable, and your hypothesis all must be aligned together. Okay? Diana can. My organization to I can. Okay, example. Sometimes certain items, when we want to adapt, they will put the items in a firm level. So from firm level, you need to reconstruct the sentence to individual level. Can, but make sure the context of the meaning doesn't change. Yeah? So this is, yeah. Okay, I think I need to continue. I'll come back to the question in a while, okay? Otherwise,
Thank you, Doctor.
Sorry, Doctor, I have problem in the mic. For that, I did not.
okay.
And my question about conceptual framework for the intervention study. If you are build intervention dual example in the electronic medical record, and the baseline you are measuring staff knowledge attitude practice CAP, then also an example antibiotic usage before the intervention as a baseline. Then you build the intervention in the electronic medical record. Then after that, again, you monitor the change in the antibiotic use and change in the staff knowledge, attitude, and the practice.
Okay,
So I'm
thank
thinking
you,
about
Mr.
the
Abdullah.
conceptual framework.
Doctor,
Thank you.
back to you, Doctor.
Okay, can I come back to you towards the end, Abdullah? Okay. Second stage is actually measurement. Okay, second stage is measurement. So first stage is testing, second stage is measurement. So first stage, now we are very clear, we have defined our variable, and I mean, we have come out with our framework. From our framework, we have defined our variable. From our variable, we have come out with our, from our definition, we have selected the right instrument. So now our questionnaire is ready. So second is now, based on our questionnaire, we need to find out, we will start our data collection. So in this part, we need to make sure our sample size is sufficient, and then how are we going to collect our data? What kind of method that we are going to use? Are we doing probability sampling, non-probability sampling? All that has to be in here, and then only we'll go into data collection. So once the data is collected, what do? Data is just data, yeah? Data is just numbers unless we analyze it. If we don't analyze, we won't understand, right? Then only stage 3 will come into evaluation. So judgment must be based on the data. So when you have the data, you cannot jump into analysis straight. You need to do data screening, data cleaning, and then only will come into data analysis. So data analysis will be impacted very badly when data quality is poor. Okay, data analysis will be very impacted if your data quality is not good. So how do I know whether my data quality is, how do I know whether, how to tell that, oh, my data quality is not so good? What did I do? I followed all these steps. Right? I developed the instrument based on my framework. And then, after that, everything is done accordingly. But why is my data quality not good? Have you thought about it? Yes. But just
Maybe the respondent is not right.
and there are many things which impacts your data quality. It's not just one thing. So some students think that after I come up with the instrument development, that means once I design my questionnaire, I'm done. I can straight away go and start collecting data. Am I right? Boleh ke?
Tak boleh.
The justification students give is that, oh, doctor, I have adapted from Q1 journal. All my instrument or questions I adapted from Q1 journal. So Q1 journal, their reliability is very good. So all my instrument has very high reliability, 0.83, 0.9. So they are very good. So if you are adapting from reliable journals with high reliability value, is that sufficient to say that your data quality will be good?
No.
No.
That guy who developed the scale, did he develop for you?
No.
No.
He developed for his context of study, right?
Yes.
So based on his context of study, based on his respondents, memanglah dia punya reliability tinggi. But bila kita bawa ke study kita, it may not be the same. So that's why when we adapt, and then we need to adopt to our study. So when you adapt, you take 100% the same. After that, when you adopt, you will change certain things, like what Vignesh asked just now. We will change certain things. But remember, changing is allowed. That is what we meant by adopting. You adopt to your context of the study. But the core meaning of the items cannot be changed. I have seen some instruments, and that's why I always advise my student, when you want to adapt, go and look for the original paper. Don't look for people, don't take the paper which have adapted from another person. Faham tak? Faham ke?
Faham.
Example lah ya. Original was from Ali. Okay. Aku tak tahulah, suka sangat dengan Ali. Selalu guna example Ali. Betul kan? My students will know. Okay. Ali is the one who originally developed the scale. And then Akal ambil dari Ali. Bila dari Ali, apa dia buat? Dia adopt. Betul kan? Betul tak?
Betul.
Okay.
Ya, betul.
And then Mutu pula ambil daripada Akal. Dia adopt lagi. After that, Aminah pula ambil daripada Mutu. Dia adopt lagi. Sekarang apa yang kita dapat? And you pula nak ambil daripada Aminah.
Triple adoption.
Okay. So, you need to cry. Why you need to cry? Why you need to cry? If you adopt from Aminah, why you will cry?
Different context.
Sekali.
Not the originality.
No, you don't even know what was the original scale look like. Okay. So if your examiner, because mostly examiners will be assigned based on your expertise, that means your area, your topic of kan. So examiner will be an expert in that area. So examiners basically they know lah for this variable who are the famous instrument, which instrument is quite famous, right? So if they know the instrument by Ali, and now you say that you are taking that instrument, but you're adopting from Aminah. So there might change. So that's why we ask you to do snowball. So example, when you from here, reverse balik you found one paper. Can you all mute please? Okay, so you found the paper from Aminah. So and then you see Aminah did not develop the scale. She actually adopted from Mutu. Go and find Mutu now. And then you went to Mutu. Also you found he didn't develop the scale. It was from Akal. Then you go to Akal. And then from Akal, when you come to Ali, Ali is the original and you adopt from Ali. That's why we keep telling you all many times, don't be lazy. Don't find shortcuts because this is the thing. Sometimes when you take shortcut, the original meaning and the actual meaning may not be the same. The intended one and the original has gone through so many layers of adoption until it loses its meaning. So when it loses its meaning, will it impact? Can you all please mute, please? Tolong. Yeah? Okay? Okay, faham ke? So kalau kita go through macam ni, will it disturb our data quality?
Yes.
Yes. So kadang-kadang responden bila dibaca soalan kita dia tak faham. Because we don't know the quality of Akal, Mutu, Aminah punya adoption pun kita tak tahu. Right? Mungkin they adopted in a wrong way or sentence mereka tak, tapi kita ambil ayat-ayat mereka. So that's why it's very dangerous. Okay? Okay, so some of the limitations of current scale development procedures, some of the common issues that we have is that One, failure to adequately define the construct domain. Okay, I only have another 45 minutes. Okay, a quick one lah, yeah. So remember your definition and your construct domain, it must be aligned. Okay, the definition that you are going to take to explain about your variable must be well defined and it must sit into your context of study. So sometimes we see you are just adapting a definition for the sake of adaptation. Because in your chapter 1, there's one part, right? 1.8, you operationalize your definition or you have key term definition. Don't put a definition just for the sake of putting a definition, please. That definition and your instrument development, it's like sisters, you know, they are very much has to be connected. So it has to measure the same thing. Okay, I just show you from my thesis, from my Okay, can you see my thesis? Pak Ge?
Yes.
The second, Doktor.
Apa ni? Okay. Okay, I just want to show you one thing. Okay, you see, this is the definition I gave for employee engagement. EE is a positive, fulfilling, work-related state of mind characterized by vigor, dedication, absorption. Ingat please remember the one that highlighted. This is by Shafali 2002. Okay, and let's look at my instrument. I want to see whether my instrument is measuring these three or not. Ada tak my dimension? Vigor. So these questions are measuring on vigor. And then this set of questions are measuring on dedication. And this set of questions are measuring on absorption. So related tak?
Related.
Yes.
The definition and the measurement is aligned because they are measuring what is supposed to measure. What if my definition for EE is something else? Because there are plenty of definitions for variable in your Google Scholar, you can find plenty. So what if I took a definition, example, I took a definition like EE is measuring on enthusiasm and individual motivation of employees towards level of satisfaction at work. Okay, let's say I took this definition. EE is enthusiasm, something like, forget about my language. EE is enthusiasm and individual motivation of employees towards level of satisfaction at work. If I take this definition as my key term definition for employee engagement, and then I use this set of items to measure my employee engagement. Relevant tak?
Major correction. Major correction.
Sorry? Major. Yes. Right? I don't have items in here. I got 17 items. None of these items are actually measuring enthusiasm. None of it is measuring motivation. And none of it is measuring satisfaction at work. Right? Now you all know, right? But make sure you don't do this mistake because many of you all do. Right? Many of you all do. That's why examiners will always tell your definition is not aligned to your measurement. This is what they mean. Yeah, this is what it is meant. So it's okay if, let's say, when you are writing your chapter 3, definitely you want to finish your chapter 3. You bantai lah, you will put something for definition, right? But when you are constructing your questionnaire, revisit back your definition. Faham ke? That's why the definition that you are going to adapt for that variable, it will be consistent throughout your study. Your whole study, chapter 1 to chapter 5, we will always fall back on that one definition which you say will become the key definition for that construct in your study. We cannot simply keep changing definition, or we cannot simply put a definition in that key term definition just for the sake of putting. Tak boleh. Faham ke?
Faham.
Oh,
Doktor,
yes.
definition tu datang dari definition ke atau datang dari soalan yang kita adopt tu?
Kadang-kadang if you are lucky, orang yang buat definition tu juga buat scale. Then you boleh ambil yang sama lah. So kadang-kadang orang yang develop scale dia tak keluarkan definition. Then kita kena adapt definition tapi pastikan definition itu dengan scale itu adalah aligned. Faham ke?
Okay,
Like for me lah, I took Shafali kan. Saya item pun saya ambil dari Shafali, definition pun saya ambil dari Shafali because dia ada keluarkan definition. So I was lucky. So kadang-kadang no, even the person who developed the items, the scale, they don't come out with the definition. Then you need to look for a definition which is aligned to that items that guy developed. So you have to be careful on that. Okay. Okay, that's one. So items are not measuring the intended meaning of the variable. This is what I meant. So if your item definition is different, your intention of the variable is different, but your item is also measuring on something else, then we are going to have problem. Okay. So again, and when we are measuring, when we are selecting item, it's not just individual item. You also have to see the connection of the item. So connection of item between variables as well, whether it's reflecting overall on your framework or not. It's just we cannot see that one variable as an individual variable. We have to see it as a holistic. Overall, does it give a picture of your overall thing or not? Okay, that's also very important. Okay, the items and variables are in different unit of analysis, the one that I explained just now, right? So you cannot have mixed unit of analysis in one framework. If all variables are individual level, then everything will be individual level. If everything is in a firm level, then everything will be in firm level. So we cannot have one in individual, the other in firm level, tak boleh, okay? Okay, items are not relevant towards the overall research. Adapting instruments from predatory journals, that means you go and, okay, why we keep telling, why we keep stressing, go for items or scales developed by good papers, which are mostly listed under what Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 journals. Why we say
Trusted source.
because in good journals like Q1 journals, Q2, 3, 4, all right, they will go through a very rigorous process. That means when I develop my scale, when I submit, they will really go review it. You know, the review is very stringent. So that's why the quality of the items will be maintained. But there are predatory journals like today you pay and submit, tomorrow they publish. So review is bad. So we really don't know whether the guy who developed the scale went through all the process or not. And then it's going to have an impact on what? It's going to have an impact on your data quality. Okay. Okay. And lack of refinement. Okay. That means you just take ambil bulat-bulat and then you never refine it to your study. Remember, no matter where you take your items, where you adapt, items, scales are developed not for your study, right? Scales are developed in a context of their study. So when you are going to bring it over to your context of study, you need to refine them. Okay. Otherwise, when you don't do any refinement, sometimes the respondent will be like, how to answer this? It's not related to my company. It's not related to my study, right? I can show you one example.
But after this, we got five questions from the chat, but maybe you boleh katakan dulu yang ni.
Okay, sure. Okay, example, training and development. So you see, extensive training programs are provided. Okay, when you put inside your thesis, this is the verbatim version. Verbatim version means yang ini kena letak bulat-bulat. How you take from the paper, that's how you report it here. And then in your questionnaire is the part where we will adopt. You will go through the adoption. Okay, here is the exact word. We never change anything. Okay, so for training, extensive training programs are provided for individuals in this job. Is this sentence suitable for small companies like SMEs? Suitable tak? Sesuai tak?
No.
No.
These items were actually developed by Dellery for big companies like MNCs. So when I adapt from Dellery, because I was doing on medium manufacturing enterprise, that means it's a small company. So dia tak sesuai. So because I need to reword it, I need to refine it, because in small companies, yes, they do get training, but not extensive training. So bila saya letak extensive, and then saya tak tukar, and then respondent rasa macam confused. Mana kami ada banyak training? Kan? Tak apalah, tembak je lah. That if they start doing that, your data quality will be poor or good. Right? So that's why you need that refinement. Okay? You need the refinement. Okay? Adapting instruments, okay, sorry, like no further reliability and validity. Oh, because you justify. Saya sudah ambil daripada Q1 journal. I took it from Q1 journal. Q1 journal say that composite reliability for this variable is 0.5. So okay lah, saya tak payah check apa-apa, saya tak payah buat apa-apa. I just ambil saja, boleh ke? Itu konteks lain. Kita punya konteks lain. Sometimes in that context 0.92, tapi bila saya buat baru 0.7. So we need to still check for reliability and validity. Why we need to check for reliability, validity? Because you're doing refinement. When you refine, you need to again check back for reliability and validity. And combining items, yang ini banyak pula. Oh, item tak cukup, doktor. Paper ni, untuk variable ni ada 2 item. So apa saya buat? 2 dari paper ni, 3 dari paper tu saya combine. Boleh ke? I'll come back to that again. Okay. So ini kita dah buat. Okay ni. Rafi, nanti jawab soalan 2 cm boleh tak?
Okay, doktor. Okay.
Adapt and adopt steps. How to adapt and adopt dia punya steps lah ya. Satu, you need to go back to your literature review. Because scales are all, the good scales, everything is in your literature, right? Kena baca lah. Literature review. Step 1, it must go back to literature review. Second, formation of a questionnaire draft. After you go through the literature review, you find that this instrument ni daripada jurnal ni sangat sesuai dengan konteks tadi kita. Okay, kita nak adapt lah ya. So that's where you come out with your questionnaire. After that, step 3, you need to validate. It has to go through validation now. Kita dah buat kita punya questionnaire. After that, it has to go through the validation process. And finally, we check for reliability. Okay? So there are at least 4 to 5 steps in the questionnaire development process. Yeah? Before designing the questionnaire, you must have a clear research objective, research question, hypothesis, and framework. I have seen many students, this one tak buat lagi, not clear, tak strong, tapi questionnaire sudah develop. Boleh ke? Can or not?
Cannot.
Cannot lah. Because you ingat ya, questionnaire is just a tool saja. So kalau you punya base ini tak strong and then you develop questionnaire, dia measure apa pula? Right? So you must know what you want to measure. You must know what is the hypothesis that you are testing. What is the objective that you want to achieve, and what is your research question? Based on that only, later part, I can actually go and look for articles which are relevant. Tapi bila ini belum buat, all these belum buat, tiba-tiba sudah buat questionnaire. So there will be, lack of, that's what I say lah, lack of refinement between your study and your questionnaire. So hypothesis development must be clear. Oh, another thing. Kita buat hypothesis development, right? And this one mostly tertinggal. Yeah, kita buat hypothesis development. I mean, in your chapter 2, you will have a hypothesis development. For each hypothesis, you have a hypothesis development. Is it important your hypothesis development must be aligned to your questionnaire?
Yes.
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 And most critical, because this is the, after you terangkan your hypothesis development, and then you will go and do measurement. So that measurement punya results inilah yang akan support whether your hypothesis is supported or not supported. So you have a hypothesis and you have your measurement, but the measurement, when it is not measuring what it's supposed to measure, then how to know whether your hypothesis is supported or not supported? Right? So what I always see among students is that, right, you do all this part. When you do chapter 1, you do chapter 2, you do chapter 3. But the alignment certain part you don't know. You just follow other people's thesis. Okay, this thesis wrote 1.1 this, 1.2 this, everything you do. But we don't see the alignment among them. And you don't know this is related to this. Remember, chapter 1 until chapter 5, it is actually related. When one thing goes wrong in one chapter, it will affect the other thing. So hypothesis development, your research objective, research questions, framework, all these are very, very closely connected to your questionnaire. If you want to maintain the rigor of your finding in chapter 4. Remember, many people cry in chapter 4 because I do a lot of data analysis because my strength is Smart PLS and SPSS. So many people cry in chapter 4 because poor data collection and very poor instrument development. So anyone who come for personal coaching for data analysis, if let's say all their tests fail, everything is rate. First thing I'll ask them, can I see your questionnaire? First thing I'll ask, can I see your questionnaire? Right? So don't think your softwares are stupid, yeah? They have a very huge mechanism behind. So when your questionnaire is not good, it reflects on the data. And then we analyze the data, it reflects on your finding. So I have students, a few weeks back, she had, I think, 14 hypotheses. Yeah, 14. All 13 rejected. Right? If hypothesis is rejected, not a big issue, but not everything, right? And all the cutoff point did not meet. Yeah? So when I checked her questionnaire, so the problem with her questionnaire was the instrument was not measuring what it's supposed to measure. And then she had a lot of reverse coding issue. Like, you know, some sentences are in positive, some sentences are in negative, and then Likert scale adoption issues, so many issues. Okay. Okay. These are the steps to be reported. Okay, step 1, measurement of variables and instrumentation. These are the most important steps now. Yeah, we have 7 steps. Step 1 is measurement of variables and instrumentation. This one usually comes from LR. Yeah, this comes from LR. Go and check in LR. What are the scales available? Which scale is actually more suitable for our context of study? Then you adapt them. And then once you adapt, you need to show it in your thesis. You need to write it in your thesis, something like this. Every variable we will have a sorry. Okay, every variable we will have a subtopic like this. You know, we need to mention where we take, how many items, what scale is being used, and everything. Okay, that is step 1. Second is step 2. You'll come out with the structure of your questionnaire. That means in your questionnaire we got how many parts, like part A, part B, part C, part D, how many sections, whatever not. Okay, so structure. After that, we need to do your back-to-back translation. Okay, is back-to-back translation compulsory? Some of y'all think questionnaire development is a very easy process. Just most of the students, they only do step 1. Just take from LR, put everything together, come out with a questionnaire, go collect data. After that, sit and try in chapter 4. Yeah? Do you want to do that? Nak buat macam tu ke?
Tak nak.
Tak nak. Kan?
Tak nak.
So kalau tak nak, bersusah-susah dahulu, bersenang-senang kemudian. Wah, berpantun berlaku. Okay? Okay, so step 1. So once you have done this, second, structure of the questionnaire. Step 3, back-to-back translation. Is it compulsory that we have to do back-to-back translation? Compulsory.
Yes.
I don't
Yes.
think so.
It's not compulsory, at the same time, it's not an option. If it is necessary, you need to do it. If it is, so whether it's necessary or not necessary, it depends on you or the respondent.
Depends on the
Respondent.
respondent.
It depends on the respondent. Okay, let's say, because most of the questionnaires are in English. And then if your respondent is not able to speak English or to understand English or to write or read English in a fluently, then we may have to translate so that they understand. Ingat respondent understanding on the item is more crucial than our understanding. So because if they don't understand, they won't give a proper rating. So that's why our center here is actually focused on respondent. Why we are doing all this is because of our respondent. Okay. So back-to-back translation, it's not compulsory, but it highly depends on the level of respondents that you have. Okay, like for me, because I was doing an SME, so there are some who are good in English and some who are not very fluent in English. So I did both. So up is English, second down is, bilingual lah. I did up is English and then below is Bahasa. So whatever language you want to translate, there is a step to do back-to-back translation. So it's not as easy as you think. You don't just go to Google and then translate. There are a few steps that you need to follow in order for you to do the translation. And you need to, when you want to do translation, you need to give it to translators. So language teachers, language lecturers, or pusat bahasa for translation. And that's why I say there are 3 steps that we need to follow in order for us to do that. Okay. So once we have done the translation, if it is necessary, okay, if it is necessary, once you have completed the translation, you need to do pre-testing. Step 4 is pre-testing. Under pre-testing for content validity, you need to validate the content now. Okay. So when you want to validate the content, you already, that means we assume lah. So once you adapt here, after you adapt in step 1, you will adopt. After you adapt, you will do the adoption. So once you have done the adoption, you will send it for translation. Once the translation is over, you need to now do content validity testing. Content validity testing got 2 types of testing. One, we call it as expert-driven pre-testing, where you use content validation index. Okay, we call this as CVI. In this one also not many people are doing it, okay, but it's very, very good if you do it. Right, like some of you all do expert review, but you just ask question. That means you take your questionnaire, you give it to experts, selected expert. Usually you just ask them to say yes or no. Each item, you ask them to say yes or no. By just saying yes or no, do you think that really helps?
No.
We want some kind of score there, right? Statistical scores, so that we can use that score to quantify or to justify our selection of the item or not, okay? So we have a better method. That's what we call content validation index, okay? Okay, this is a content validation calculation table, yeah? So this is the calculation table, and then CBI index, and this is the reviewer form. So usually in my class, I don't allow you all to use yes or no. So we have degree of relevance. We usually will use degree of relevance 1 until 4. 1, the expert reviewer will say this question is not suitable. Second is suitable but not so. 3 is okay. 4 is very good. And then the remarks. So these are the scores later on. We will compute using the content validity index. This is an auto table, so it will calculate like this. So now I have my CVI. ICVI means item content validity index. SCVI means for the scale itself. And then we have cutoff points for here. So the cutoff point is based on the cutoff point is actually based on how many expert reviewers that we use, either 3, 5, usually they will use between 3 to 9. Okay. And who can be a reviewer? Who can be our reviewer?
The expert.
Expert. Yeah, who will be your experts?
Who is the expert?
Who's
From
the-
industry.
So your expert must be someone who is an expert in your selected industry, and also the level of respondent. Okay. Can your supervisor be a
Doctor?
Is this including the academia, I mean the professor or doctor from other university?
If it is related to your study, yes. Okay, wait, one by one. Okay. Example. Can your supervisor be your expert reviewer?
Depends.
Tak boleh.
Tak boleh. Bias issue.
Boleh.
Bias
Saya-
issue. Okay. Dia memang supervisor kita akan advise kita lah kan. Tapi dia tak boleh jadi expert reviewer because he's our supervisor. That's one. Second, can an academic person become our reviewer?
Boleh.
If your study is in academic,
Depends.
if your study is academic, then okay, because that's your industry, right? But example like me, I'm doing in SME. So can I use all my 3 reviewers from academic, professor, my lecturers and other subject lecturers? Cannot. They won't understand my industry, right? So my expert must come from where? Must come from SME. Faham ke? And you need to narrow some more. And SME is very wide kan. Which part of SME? So I was doing manufacturing SME. So then my expert must come from manufacturing SME. Can I take an expert from service related SME?
Cannot.
Tak boleh. Because service ataupun agriculture, dia tak faham apa tu manufacturing. So you need to narrow down. Okay class, my personal advice. When you are doing these steps, please do it wholeheartedly. Don't do it for the sake of impressing examiner or just for the sake of doing it. You know, kalau tak buat nanti kena marah masa waiwah, masa tak. When you do this wholeheartedly, you see the quality of your finding, quality of your analysis will be very good. Why we are doing is not for the sake of doing. We want to improve the quality of our question. So questions are easily understood by respondents and you get the accurate rating for them. That's why we're doing all these. Not just shot sendiri ataupun just doing, oh everybody is doing, I must do it. No, it's not about that. It's your research is your baby. So you are doing the best for your baby. Okay? So ingat, expert must come from your industry. But one expert can come from academic who is an expert in methodology, questionnaire design, he or she, if it is an expert in questionnaire design on the methodology part, conceptualizing a questionnaire, constructing a questionnaire, he's an expert in that. You can take one expert from that area to just see whether your questionnaire is done properly or not and all those things. Okay, so the rest will be from your expert ataupun from your industry. Faham ke?
Faham.
Okay, so can I become your expert reviewer? Boleh tak?
Can.
Dekat mana? How?
Instrument. For instrument development.
For instrument development, right? Okay, I'm not offering myself, I'm just telling you all, okay? So can I become an expert reviewer? Yes, maybe on the instrument development. But other area is not my area. Unless you're from HR, maybe, because my area is HR. HR means mungkin boleh. Tapi area lain, like if you're doing on agriculture, semua tak boleh, because that's not my expertise. Okay? So you must be very careful when you're selecting your experts. Don't select for the sake of selection. Okay? Okay, second review will be respondent-driven pre-testing. For me, if you ask personally, this is more important. For me, is very important. Because at the end of the day, who's going to answer your questionnaire?
Respondent.
Respondent. Kalau dia tak faham soalan, apa akan berlaku? Koyaklah kita kan? Right?
Betul.
Data tak valid.
Data tak valid, dia tak faham. Okay? So yang paling penting adalah respondent. So what we do in a respondent driven pre-testing, kita kumpul lah dalam 5 respondent daripada actual sample group ya. We take about 5 from the actual sample group and then we can do focus group interview as well. So that means we put together, we give them the questionnaire and then ask them to answer. After answering, for us, we cannot analyze the data, We just ask them questions like, how was the questionnaire? Ada tak any words that you cannot understand, anything did you find anything which is difficult for you? So we take down all that and then kita betulkan. Then once we have done all that, now your questionnaire is ready for pilot test. Okay? So how many people you need to select for pilot test? Pilot test is your validation, yeah. A reliability check, yeah. We're going to check for reliability. Usually, thesis will report your Chromebook Alpha, but nowadays we have a lot of disagreement. Yeah? We feel composite reliability is better than Chromebook Alpha, so many report composite reliability. Yeah. So we do the pilot test. So how many? This one also again debatable. Yeah, but actual if you base on Professor Johar, he said that if you are doing a pilot test less than 100, better don't do. Right? Better don't do the pilot test because it doesn't give you the true results. But if you use 100 for pilot test, nanti actual nak pergi mana pula? Susah kan?
Repeat.
Exactly.
You can't repeat, eh? Once you use in a pilot test, the same data cannot be used for the actual. You cannot use respondents, tak boleh. Because they already see the question, right? So usually the magic number in Malaysia is always 30. Eh? Faham girl? Ikutlah, that one I don't want to, you just refer to your SV lah, ya. But the magic number in many thesis I see is 30 lah. Even saya pun, I didn't do 100, I guna 60. I use 60, okay? So once your pilot test results come, and then you see whether if the test is good, that means okay. But if you feel there is some kind of lacking in certain part of the test, then maybe you want to revisit back your questionnaire as a final edit. Once everything is done, then only you go into actual data collection process. Senang ke susah?
Susah.
Takes time. Time consuming.
Yes, time consuming. That's why you need to start early. It's not something that you can do within a month or within 2 weeks, yeah. But I still wonder how certain people can finish up a questionnaire in 1 week, 2 weeks all. I pun tak tahu lah, tak faham macam mana mereka buat. So it's time consuming, but the rigor of your questionnaire will be maintained. Like for me, I followed everything. So that's why when it came to my chapter 4, I only had to delete 2 items due to some loading issue. Only dua. Daripada 60 lebih items, I only deleted 2. Yeah. So that's the thing. So you need to be very, 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 very careful because otherwise your chapter 4 lah akan ada banyak issue. Okay. Issues in questionnaire development. 1, bias. Yeah, you need to look into the bias factor. Distortions of respondents' performance or responses, like, this part, I think that's why now we have a lot of ethics committee. Yeah, you need to go for ethics clearance. So what ethics clearance committee will do is that they will check whether your questionnaire got items yang sensitive atau tidak. So that's the thing. Second is self-report measures at time gives false rating. Okay, anything that you need to rate yourself, right? I am very good at work. Will you give a 1? Will you give rating 1? If the item is, no, my work is perfect. Will you give 1 or 5?
5.
Of course, 5.
10.
10. Oh, I do one, right? So self-evaluation punya problem inilah. Self-report measures sometimes gives false rating. So we have one method here we call as double source, but then I rasa tak cukup masa nak terangkan. So double source rating is actually to reduce this effect, but dia akan mengambil masa dan sangat susah nak buat. Okay, another thing is avoid asking sensitive questions, and then also in your demography part, try not to ask questions which are not relevant to your study so much, right? Sometimes I see your demographic question ada 20 soalan, 15 soalan, tapi tak ada kena-mengena dengan study kita. So limit your demographic question, make sure demographic analysis, which is descriptive analysis, can be linked back to your chapter 5, yeah? So ask question where you can actually, the demographic answer, the answers that you get from the demographic part can support your answers or your finding for your hypothesis in chapter 5. So if you have that type of demographic question, you keep. The others, you please check whether it's relevant or not. Sometimes you ask about departments, you ask about years of service, but later part, it's not part of your discussion at all. Then why are you asking so many questions on that? Yeah. Okay, be alert. 1. Avoid items which has double meaning. Okay, example, we call this as a double barrel questions. My boss likes to point out my mistakes and likes to give me advice. What's wrong with this item? Apa masalah dengan item ni?
Double barrel.
Question.
Double barrel. Double.
Dia ada dua kan? Macam mana saya nak jawab? How will I answer kalau bos saya highlight my mistakes tapi dia tak bagi advice? Macam mana saya nak jawab? Macam mana? Susah nak jawab tak?
Susah.
Ya.
Betul Doktor, susah.
Just like macam ni, macam soalan ni. How to answer? I like durians and boleh jawab tak? Kalau I mean if you like kalau you suka dua-dua tak apa, tapi ada orang tak suka durian tapi suka apple, so macam mana dia akan jawab? So you don't yang ini semua adalah you kena watch out lah ya. Okay, and then second items should be taken from reliable journals. Make sure you do that. Make sure your items are taken from reliable journals. And then avoid mixing items. Inilah saya kata untuk training and development. Contohnya lah, you take from article 1, you got 2 items and the reliability is 0.78. And then you feel that 2 items is too less. Then you go to another article, there are 3 items. Now you combine 5 items. What will be the reliability you are going to report? This one is 0.78. This one is 0.8. What reliability are you going to report here now? Some students say find average. Plus and then find average. Boleh ke macam tu? Cannot, right? Cannot. Plus, are you all here?
Cannot Doktor.
Yeah, of course, cannot, doctor. Cannot be.
But many of you are doing that. Yeah, many of you all are doing that, combining items. I still receive this, please, cannot. Yeah. And another thing, this guy's contact or study is different. Sometimes when you read the question, you don't see, but sometimes the software that using, it can detect certain questions from A1 and certain questions from A2 is similar meaning. They have high discriminant validity. Ya, kita kata maksud bertindih. Tapi bila kita baca macam tak bertindih pun, tapi tak, behind it dia bertindih. That's where you get all these high discriminant validity issues nanti dalam bab 4. So if you are using Smart PLS, discriminant validity can be quite challenging for us to tackle, because that's why you need to delete certain items with high collinearity issues and all those things, okay? So please be careful. Okay, measures used in study. So always remember, do this table awal-awal, right? Do this table. So you list down your variables here. Okay, whether the variable got dimension ke, tak ada dimension ke, you need to mention how many items, and then whether your type of item is reflective or formative, the reliability, and then from where you take your items or your scales, who is the author, the schema go for the journal, and H index for the author, but this is not compulsory lah. H index ni tak penting, tapi yang lain ni penting. So this is something new that I introduced in my thesis. I did this table, I put in my appendix. For that means it's like I put all my variables here and then I did this table. So during my PD and my Viva, they didn't really, my examiners didn't question me atau rasa ragu-ragu dengan saya punya questionnaire ataupun dari mana saya ambil, because everything I did it in one table, I put it in appendix, right? And then when you do this also, you also like, doing your homework lah, putting everything so you know where you took it, and then whether what kind of how many items you have, a dimension, everything you put together, make it into a table, right? Okay, now what is dimension? Sampai sekarang ada setengah tak tahu apa tu dimension, yeah? So some of you don't know what is dimension. Okay, dimension means it's a subcategory of a variable. So who will come up with the dimension? Who will come up with the dimension?
Literature.
Yes,
Literature.
literature. The person who developed the scale, he or she is the one who come up with the dimension. If no dimension stated in the literature, so example like this, for measurement of performance appraisal fairness, no dimension. From the paper, I have 6 questions. Can I break this into 3 and create my own dimension?
No.
No. It comes, and this one, this is from who? 2011 for mentoring. So this one in the paper itself, who already divided mentoring into 3 dimensions: vocational support, psychosocial support, role modeling. Can I delete the dimension and don't mention in my thesis got dimension?
Cannot.
Cannot.
So if got dimension, you cannot drop the dimension unless any of the dimension is not related to your study, but you need to justify. You need to justify, right? But in a normal thing, I cannot drop. But sometimes yes lah. Okay, contohnya your construct comprised of human, organization, environment. But your study is not connected to the environment at all. It's only about organization and human. So you don't want to take the dimensional questions for environment, but you need to support and justify why you cannot use the dimension for environment. Not simply suka-suka drop, suka-suka tambah, tak boleh ya. So this is dimension. Okay, you prefer to have a construct with dimensions or without dimensions?
With dimension.
Oh, pandai. Yeah. So you're going to have this. Ada jawapan pula.
Number apa doktor?
Can you see?
Yes.
Yes.
This is the analysis in chapter 4 when you have dimensions. We call, yes, PLS. We call this higher order construct. If got dimension, if any of your construct has dimension, when you go to Smart PLS, you have one extra test to be done, extra step lah, yeah? We call that higher order construct establishment. So this is how you look. But if you don't have dimensions, so it will be as simple as this. Faham ke? Siapa tadi?
Faham tak tu?
Tadi yang nak dimension? Nak atau nak sekarang?
Tak nak.
Tak nak, tak
Memang
nak.
tak nak doktor, tapi dah dalam study ada dimension kena letak lah kan?
Yes. No, it's not about nak tak nak lah, but kalau boleh, kalau boleh, it can avoid dimension, but sometimes your study requires it kan, that you have to put it, then you have no choice means, yeah, you can't do anything. Like I had a choice, when I was doing my thesis, I had a choice, but unfortunately, I didn't know that time that such thing called dimension. Bukan satu ya, I ada 3 construct with a dimension. VS, PS, RM adalah satu construct. WIG, dedication, absorption adalah satu construct. And then qual, quan, time is another construct. So I had 3 constructs with a dimension. So, and itulah awal-awal belajar kan, budak baru. I didn't know what was dimension until like, you know, questionnaire semua dah ready. When I went for, went for expert review. One of my reviewer, he is an expert in EE, employee engagement. He called me, Mala, your this thing got dimension. Why did you remove your dimension? Because at that time, I thought it's okay to remove the dimension. Aku remove lah. So I just letak 17 items saja. So dia pakai EE, terus dia tangkap saya. That's when I started to explore apa itu dimension, then I changed everything, corrected and everything. I regretted in the early stage because it was so difficult. But now, now dah biasa kan, okay. But in the early beginning stage, when you have dimension, yeah, you need, and another thing is when you're writing your literature review in your chapter 2, if you have dimension, contohnya kita punya construct adalah EE, employee engagement. You need to write about employee engagement, and then you also have to write about your each dimension in your literature review. So dimensions dia tak boleh terus wujud dari sky, cannot. You know, your dimensions cannot just appear in your questionnaire. you also have to mention it and then explain the meaning and everything in your chapter 2 as well, right? And then also confusion when it comes to hypothesis, whether you are going to do dimension to construct hypothesis, or you have dimension but you will combine them as a construct and you just see construct to construct. Sorry, can't go too deep into all that because running short of time. Yeah, ini simple model. Yeah, but actually this is coming from here, but usually simple model without dimensions will look simple macam ni. Okay. Okay, so the last part lah ya. So reflective construct and formative construct. Apa tu reflective construct, formative construct? Ini lagi satu masalah. Most of y'all are not aware there is a term called reflective formative, right? So when you read papers, you never look this. You think everything, all constructs are same. So you just take all the items and then, you know, you make into a questionnaire, right? But what will happen if the items developed, the scale developed by the psychometrician is a formative construct. So formative construct means the items, you see when you put like this, items are coming in. Arrows are the same or not? For formative and reflective, are the arrows same? No.
No.
Reflective items are going up. Arrow is going up. For formative, arrow is coming in. So this is very, very important, and this can also destroy your chapter 4 analysis when you wrongly analyze them. Example, you didn't know your construct is formative. When your construct is formative, you need to add one item, one extra item, we call it as global item in your questionnaire. So this is where many students do mistake. That means when you're designing your questionnaire, you don't know that there's such thing called formative reflective. So once your questionnaire is ready, everything, you go and collect your data. Once you bring back your data, that's where we know one of your variable is a formative construct and you forgot to add that one item called as global item. So that's going to lead you to a big headache. Takkan nak pergi kutip data balik. So that will be one issue. Ingat for formative construct in Smart PLS, the analysis is slightly different. Reflective will be slightly different. And that's another thing as well. Okay, so you must be careful, mostly from your literature. When you take your literature, look out for this. Usually, if it is just reflective, they don't really mention in the papers. Then we know like it's reflective. But if it is formative, most of the time they'll mention that that scale is actually a formative construct items. So you need to look out for that. But again, when you become a bit more expert in this, right? When you read an item itself, you will know. For like example items, right? When we read itself, we know, oh, this is formative, this is reflective. Yeah, we will know actually, right? Another thing, if reflective, items can be dropped because they are not related. So by dropping X4, you won't have an impact on X1, X2, X3. But formative is different. When you drop one item, the meaning of the construct drops. Okay, example, rukun negara ada 5 kan?
Ya, betul.
Boleh tak saya drop satu? Boleh tak saya drop satu?
Tak boleh.
Dosa.
Kalau saya habislah di semua rukun negara, itulah formative construct. Faham ke? Okay, now we go back to your questions.
Okay, maybe doctor can recap the questions in the chat box.
Okay. Okay, Rafi, can you tell me where the questions are?
From Nur Shawalina.
Mana ya? Oh, okay.
617.
Okay, doctor, I have 4 variables. One of the instruments was short from instrument, 48 items based on 6 constructs. The short form instrument was widely used. My question is, if I want to use original instrument, which is more than 90 items, total items for every variable will be more than 100 items. My sample is secondary school student. I'm afraid, yeah, it's too long, Shavalina. Terlampau panjang. Okay, actually, I don't have so much time to explain. The length of your instrument is also, even though you adapt and adopt from good journals, right? but you also need to maintain the length of your questionnaire because that will also have an impact on your questionnaire. Because kalau contohlah kita, if you get a questionnaire with about 150 question, jawab tak jawab?
Tak jawab. Jawab separuh.
Jawab separuh and then like okay lah, first 5 minutes boleh, lepas tu tembak. And that will also have an impact on this thing, yeah. So you need to revisit Syawalina.
Doktor, kan kita buat pilot study tu kan? Kita dah dapat gabung 4. Contoh saya nak buat pilot study based on 4 variable tu in one questionnaire. Let's say lepas pilot study ada item yang nak digugurkan. Okay. So saya yang real study saya guna yang maksudnya tak perlu ambil lah kan yang digugurkan tu kan?
Mengikut Joe dia selalu cakap kalau masa pilot, kalau ada apa-apa item yang tak strong sangat, jangan gugur lagi. Kita gugur dalam bab 4 bila kita dah collect actual data.
Oh, okay.
Kadang-kadang, because pilot study kan kita tak kutip banyak orang, right? Mungkin dalam 30, dia mungkin tunjuk lemah. Tapi bila kita kutip untuk 300 orang, actually the item is strong. So,
baik, jelas.
According to Joe, he will say during pilot study, just keep a watch. Mungkin ada soalan di mana ayat tu tak betul, itu semua kita repair, but don't drop yet in your pilot study. We do dropping anything in your actual data collection. Unless it's a very serious issue lah, then maybe lah. Okay.
Thank you, doktor.
Doktor boleh ubah sikit lah soalan kita tu.
Boleh. Lepas pilot study, kalau ada satu variable yang ada isu sikit, mungkin you nak revisit cara kita tulis ayat tu ke apa ke, mungkin boleh. Yang tu boleh.
Alright. Okay, next doktor. From Ting Sing.
Okay, doktor, kalau dah kenal pasti instrumen yang original tu, pada awal kajian development, instrumen pengkaji cadangkan 8 domain hasil validasi dan dapatan kajian. Jadi 5 domain saja, maka 8 domain hasil validasi dan dapatan kajian. Jadi 5 domain saja. Maka mana satu instrumen yang kita perlu rujuk? Yang 8 domain atau 5 domain? Tak faham lah, Ting.
Actually, pengkaji dia develop a model for this contohnya leadership lah.
Okay.
Kepimpinan inovasi. So, mula-mula dia dari kepala gabungan teori, dia dah develop the instrument, semuanya ada 8 domain. And after dia rujuk pakar dan everything, and then dia punya outcome ialah hanya 5 domain sahaja.
Kita ambil
so, I have to follow the 5 or X.
You follow 5.
Okay, understand. Alright, thank you.
Tonight I will share in the group, the YouTube channel link. I will share it,
Go for Diana, doktor.
Diana, doktor, setiap variable mesti ada dimension. Can it be direct? Can. That's why I say dimension is just an option. That means it's from your LR. Kalau variable tu memang you if you can find a construct without dimension, is good. Okay. Boleh ke jika tak ambil semua dimension? You need to justify. Kalau kita nak drop dimension, you need to justify why that particular dimension not related to your study and you are going to drop. It's not about panjang ke, pendek ke, suka ke, tak suka ya. You must have a strict ataupun strong justification to justify if you say that that dimension is not related to your study. Otherwise cannot drop. Yeah.
Thank you, doktor. From Karina.
Do we use the results from pilot study to test for reliability? Yes. But nowadays, Karina, Chromebook Alpha is not so. We will usually nowadays for pilot study, we test for composite reliability.
Okay, next one from Nur Aisha Azmi. 659.
Aisha Azmi, okay. The dimension in the questionnaire need to provide the hypothesis. So it depends. Aisha, it depends. You can do dimension to dimension, you can do dimension to construct, or you just do, you can, even though got dimension, but you still only see construct to construct. Like for me, even though I got dimension, but I never see dimension to dimension in my hypothesis. I still see construct to construct. Okay?
Doctor, maybe you can stop sharing for a while. Nampak lebih besar muka doktor. And then the other one is from Mohan. Example for reflective or just now. Alvin,
Mohan, maybe tonight I put in the group, Mohan, WhatsApp group. You're in the WhatsApp group, right?
okay, thank you, doctor. And then Halvinder.
Harminder, will there be a workshop on EFA, CFA analysis from your doctor? Degree of relevance, Excel form 2. Harminder, all these things I share in my classes actually. Yeah, EFA, CFA. Actually, EFA, we don't do EFA for adapt and adopt. EFA is mostly for skill development. But all the forms, Excel form, review forms, everything is usually I will do that during our workshops. Okay. Okay, tu je eh? Ada lagi ke?
Tak ada. Thank you very much, doctor. Maybe you want to add the latest ataupun nearest class?
Oh yeah, okay. We will be having nearest class here on 14th December, yeah, which is about 9 to 4 p.m. on aligning framework definition with instrument. So very, very important class. We will cover all these things, how to come out with your framework, unit of analysis, key term definition, mapping of your key term definition with instrument, and the whole complete instrument development process, your dimensions, reflective, formative construct, how to report, what to look into, what is reverse coding issue, quantification of expert review and content validity. All these, the templates will be given. Every single thing templates will be given, and then the template will also show you how to report in your thesis. Okay, and a recording will be given, templates will be given, and then the CVR index table will be given. Example of source relate will be given. And then anyone interested in joining, the actual fees is 120 ringgit. But anyone join by 12 midnight tonight, you only pay 100 ringgit. Okay. So thank you so much for joining the class.
I already put the link. I already put the link in the chat.
Okay. So just be in the group. Maybe by tomorrow morning, I will share the YouTube link for the recording. Yeah, you can actually look at it. Okay. Thank you so much, class. It was really a nice class. If I missed any question, you can actually text me in the group. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks, Rafi.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Doctor.
Okay, thank you guys. Bye.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Dr. Mala.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you. Thank you to all the doctors, friends who have attended. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Nanti ada feedback form, nanti tolong isi dalam grup free kita lah.
Thank you, Doctor.
Okay, welcome guys. Okay, maybe doctor will end the session. Thank you very much to all. Assalamualaikum and bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.